Welcome to the Christian Romance Podcast, where we go behind the books with inspiring Christian romance authors, exploring faith, love, and the journey that brings the story to life. I'm your host, Kelly Jo Wilson, and today we're chatting with Jaime Jo Wright. Jaime is a Christie, Daphne du Maurier, and Carol Award-winning author, and an ECPA bestseller of over 13 novels. Known for titles like The Vanishing at Castle Moreau, The House on Foster Hill, and The Reckoning at Gossamer Pond, Jaime carves out her own lane with stories that blend gothic mystery, haunting themes, and a spark of hope. She lives in Wisconsin with her family and a few fabulous felines. Be sure to stay tuned until the end of the episode so you can hear about our newest book giveaway. Now, here's my conversation with Jaime. Hi, Jaime. I am so happy to have you back on the Christian Romance Podcast. Thank you so much for coming back today.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, I can't wait to talk to you. We have so many things to talk about, okay? So many things. Before we get started on all these questions that I have to ask you, why don't you let the listeners know just a little bit about you and the kind of stories that you write?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm Jaime Jo Wright. I live in Wisconsin in the woods. I'm a country girl and I love cats. If anybody doesn't know that already, that's kind of sad because my cats are all over my Instagram.
Oh, foo.
It's just like you ask somebody to talk about themselves and it's like really awkward. So we just instantly go to our pets. Have you ever noticed that? I do have children. I should probably talk about them before my cats. I've been told that my priorities are mixed up. And as far as writing, I write what I would describe as gothic mystery, I guess, or like Jane Eyre meets Agatha Christie meets Edgar Allan Poe with a little bit of Scooby-Doo thrown in.
Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun. Everybody listening right now, if they did not know you, they're like, I need to get her books because
or else they just shut off your podcast. It's gonna be like the lowest. This is like the lowest heard podcast of all of your episodes. You know how you get ranked? And it's gonna be like, here's your favorite episode of 2025. And then there's the Jaime Jo Wright one.
Stop. 0% chance. I don't even care. You know why? Because I love chatting with you and it's fine. This episode is for me. Okay. I'll listen to it myself.
Okay. All right.
Oh, no worries. Because I just need to hear about this. So that was such a good way to describe your books, I think. That was like the best.
You know, you shouldn't it's okay. First of all, as a writer, you don't want to plagiarize things because you don't want to like take somebody else's writing. But the best way to describe yourself is to figure out what writers you're similar to.
Yeah.
And then tell that to somebody else. Because the readers are like, oh, okay. Because if I said I was like Stephen King, that's very different than an Agatha Christie or Jane Eyre. Well, Jane Eyre is not the author. That would have been Charlotte Bronte. But everybody knows it is Jane Eyre. Anyway, yes. I'm rambling again. I'll be quiet.
Don't be quiet. This is meant. I want to hear you ramble.
I'm not even drinking coffee right now.
This is just you with a little bit of foo. And that's okay. Yes. It's a foo jolt.
Yes.
Because he's so cute.
My foo cat is going to join us at some point. I'm sure he'll jump up here. So
yes. And then I hope he does because I'll use that as a video clip. And then everybody can see it.
Perfect.
But no, I think that that's a great way to describe your writing. And yes, you're absolutely right, is to see where you fit. And you kind of are in a league of your own, though, I feel like, with the kind of stories that you write, because you have these dual time stories. And then you have, like you said, like the Edgar Allan Poe vibe. And then you have like the darkness, but you also have hope in them. They're like kind of creepy, but not scary. Although in some ways, but not like horror kind of a thing.
No,
they're just interesting. There's a lot of intrigue in there and it's really unique and really fun. And your readers absolutely love them. So I just think, that's perfect. Absolutely perfect. So the stories that you write, so if somebody wanted to try out, say, like your books, and I will definitely get to, I can't wait to talk about this story, this new story. But if they were like looking, because you've written a lot of books now. So like if somebody wanted to try out, get a kind of a taste of the types of book that you write, what would be a good one to start with?
Oh my goodness. Well, none of the books are reliant on the other. So you could really
Okay.
grab any title and start with that. So I always tell people, look at the cover, whichever one speaks to you, pick it up. But the first one that I ever wrote that was published was The House on Foster Hill. And that would be a good one to start with, only because it's I don't know. Some people say it's creepy, but I don't find it as creepy as some of my other ones. The Vanishing at Castle Moreau is also another one I've been told is a really good one to start with.
Mm.
And actually, I had a bookstore owner tell me the other day that the book that we're going to talk about is going to be their new first recommend. They said
Ah.
this one that you just came out is going to be one I'm going to start recommending
Hmm.
if people haven't read you, to start with this one.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, that's because I feel like it's good to know that, right? Because all your books, like you said, are standalones, which is
Yes.
good. But sometimes you get, it depends. If somebody is like maybe coming off of one of those that you named before, so like a
Right.
Jane Eyre type, and like, I want to try something different, so I want to try Jane,
Right.
because your writing is so masterful. You are wonderful, award-winning author. I'm so happy for you, and I am not surprised one bit that you're this finalist for the Christie Award. Oh my gosh, I am saying prayers. I hope you get it. I am not surprised one bit,
Well, I'm
because
up against some really great authors, so don't
they're
hope too hard and feel too disappointed, because there's a high probability I won't.
oh my gosh, stop. But you are, I mean, just there are a lot of wonderful authors. And I get so
Yes,
excited.
there
I'm
are.
always like cheering you guys on. Like, I like look at the awards and stuff, because it just, it's so hard. I mean, writing one story, getting it published, going through that whole process is a lot. It takes you on a journey,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're a Christian and writing a Christian fiction
Mm-hmm.
story. God's
Mm-hmm.
taking you on a journey, like we were talking about before we started recording. um yeah, he wants you to master the thing that one of your characters is going through. So he points out
You know,
all this
yeah,
stuff.
people say God doesn't have a sense of humor. I'm like, sometimes he just like lives there. I'm telling you, he's like, oh, is that what you're gonna write about? Well, then.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like we were just saying, definitely. Have you seen, has he done that with a lot of your books? Like, or most of them have like surprised you with, like, maybe you thought it was going in one direction, and then it ended up
Yeah.
going in a different direction?
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's some books that are more poignant than others as far as my own personal journey goes. I'd say probably the most personal one was The Souls of Lost Lake. When I wrote that, I actually had chosen to have a character's mother going through terminal cancer. And then
Mm.
I ended up editing my book while I was by my mom's bedside as she was going through terminal cancer, which at the time I chose that theme, I had no idea that was going to be my journey too.
Mm.
And I'm not by any means saying that God was like, well, if that's what you picked, then here you go. I don't think that's his sense of humor by any means, but we're going to do that. I don't think that it's also a mistake, because it was an interesting journey to go through personally while I was also writing it. And there was a couple scenes in The Souls of Lost Lake that I went back and rewrote with a different perspective after having
Mm.
walked through it myself. And I don't think it was a mistake. I think God used those circumstances that he knew I was going to go through anyway to imprint that concept onto my mind for the book. And it happens. It's really interesting how I don't think there's any coincidence. I think he just leads and guides. And as you're submitted to him, as you're writing a book, all of a sudden you go, oh, okay. So this is where we're going to go with this.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I'm sorry about your mom, Jamie. That's very hard and very sad. I'm sorry. I'm so glad that she had you by her side, though.
Yeah, we did. We were laughing up until literally about 5 minutes before she passed away. So
Mm.
it was a good, as much as I can say it was a good experience, it was a good experience. There's horror stories of um, people passing away, and my mom's was one that was just fully, I mean, I don't think you can get much closer to God on this earth
Mm.
than that moment. And so it was very palpable. It was pretty amazing.
It It is, I will say, because I am a nurse and I have
Mhm.
worked and I worked on a progressive critical care unit, which is like right an ICU step down floor. But
Oh, yep.
we had certain patients that would take a lot of our patients were pulmonary, like lung patients,
Mhm.
lung
Mhm.
issues. So we could deliver up to 70 liters of oxygen on our unit, which
Wow.
is like nuts to even think about.
Yeah.
And so some people were really, really sick. And there were many times where I was in the room and with them as they're passing or
Mhm.
with their family. Some people didn't have family and I was
Mhm.
there, and some people had a huge, big family
Yeah.
and being there. But I will tell you, there's no other word than that I can use to describe it other than an honor to be there,
Mhm.
right? It just is so, like you said, palpable. It's a very vulnerable place for
Mhm.
not just the person that's passing, but also the family there. And it was an honor to be with them and like walking with them in that. So I can totally see like how um what you mean by that, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. A parent, I can't imagine that would be very difficult. But
Mhm.
I love that you guys were laughing and you were trying to be lighthearted, and it just, what else are you going to do? I mean, you're just kind of spending time together, just being there.
Right, right. Well, and I think that's, and I feel like that translates into pretty much all of my books
Mm,
because my books all deal with death,
yeah.
right? And I think that's one of the, and not I think, I know that's one of the reasons why I write what I do, because I feel with the belief that we have in Christ and eternity, that there can be this really awful disconnect between believers and what's yet to come.
Mm,
And we look at death and grief as this horrendous, awful thing. But when you have the hope um, that is based in our faith, and that's based in the gift of what Christ did for us, eternity becomes extremely real,
mm,
and the veil between here and there is very thin. And I don't want to be disconnected to what's to come in the future, because we live so much here in our headspace that we cling to the things that are of this world. And you think about the Apostle Paul and how he was writing, like, consider it pure joy as you go through trials of any kind. And
mm,
he could say that because he was always looking forward to eternity. This wasn't home, that was home. And so now, like, even when I talk about my mom having passed away, I talk about having, she moved. I try not to even use the word I lost my mom, because I didn't
mm,
lose her. I know where she is. It's not an eternal separation. I told my son when he was having a rough night after she passed away, I said, just think about it though. I said, you've experienced the worst possible goodbye, like, awful thing that you will ever experience with Nanny. And from here on out, it's only things to be excited for, because you've said your last goodbye, but
mm.
you've not said your last hello.
Aw.
And so you look forward to that next hello. And that's what I want to do with my books, is I hope I can help people see death as, yeah, it's entertainment and it's macabre and all those creepy elements of gothic mystery is super fun. But there's also, like you said earlier, that hope that isn't often found in the dark and the macabre. And what is that hope? And is that hope actually something that we can rely on? And that's where I want to go with the whole death concepts.
Oh yeah, and it's so needed. It's so much needed. I feel like
Yeah.
people just crave that so much,
Hmm.
especially nowadays. There's such a revival happening now too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just everywhere, especially like with
Yeah.
younger people. I love to
Hmm.
see that so much. Like my son watches these like Christian YouTubers, like he'll see
Hmm.
like their shorts, he'll like send me their videos and stuff. Oh,
Hmm.
look, there's Fu.
Yeah, I told you he was gonna
And
come.
I knew he would come. Good. I hope he hangs out. But there really is. There's such a need for that, James. I love how you said that, because it is, I feel like on the other side of things, right? On not the
Hmm.
Christ and hope side, the enemy side.
Yeah.
He's trying to desensitize everybody of
Right.
death, but with evil things, right?
Yeah.
But the way that you're talking about it is, hey, death isn't, like you said, it may be your last goodbye, but not your last hello. I love that
Right.
so much. I'm going to
Right.
reuse that somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. Use it away, because I
It's
really felt
beautiful.
And it's so true. It's,
Yeah.
if somebody asked me to counsel them through the loss of a loved one, and I use the word loss there, of a loved one who didn't have a relationship with Jesus Christ and an understanding, um, that is an entirely different situation. And I'm not sure how you even go about comforting somebody when
Yeah.
you can't sit there and talk to them about the promise of eternity with Christ and the eternal hope that we have. But when I look at my mom's situation and other people that have passed away, I mean, I joke that I grew up in a funeral home because I had so many relatives, like every year somebody close
Mm.
to our family was passing away. So it was like holding hands with death was just something I did as a child. Like it was like, oh, we're going to celebrate New Year's. I wonder who's going to die this year was kind of my mentality. Right. And so from one standpoint, it became kind of like a laughing matter because you approach dark things with humor. But on the flip side, when it was somebody who was passing away and moving to heaven, I learned to look at it as kind of like, back in the olden days when people would say, hey, I'm going on the Oregon Trail, and they weren't dying. They were just moving away, and you weren't going to have contact with them for months to maybe years because there was just this vast plain between you and them if you lived out east, And so I look at life with my mom in heaven and me here. It's like she's still doing stuff. I mean, it's not like she's just done.
Yeah.
She's still living and praising the Lord and probably doing a lot more joyful things than I am. And I doubt she's as tired.
Oh, I love it. That's such a good perspective to have, Jay, especially in dealing with a lot of death yourself. I'm sorry that you had to deal with that, but I feel like you said earlier, like God does use that
Yeah,
to edify,
absolutely.
right? To build others up, to use your experiences, especially, and a lot of people I'm sure find comfort in that. Like you're saying some things that are difficult and dark,
Hmm.
or sharing dark concepts.
Right.
But there's dark stuff that happens in the
There
world.
is.
And
There
it's
is.
so different pointing them to Jesus versus just being dark, right?
And that's why I say, when I say there's a disconnect, I don't mean that to be critical of anybody. I mean, there's a disconnect with myself. We do get so wrapped up in what we hold precious here,
Mhm.
um, that eternity and the hope of what's to come and the perfection that's promised. I mean, it's promised in scripture, it's going to happen. It's like we lose sight of that somehow within the throes of our grief. And I'm not saying grief isn't valid and it's not real. I mean, it'll come out of nowhere and blindside me. Like I'll be doing dishes and all of a sudden I picked up a spoon last night that used to be my mom's, and we used to
Mm.
use it for mashed potatoes and green beans. And it was like, those moments in a movie, like where somebody, like it's like a speculative movie and somebody touches something and they're transported and whoosh. It was kind of that moment. Like I picked up the spoon and I'm like, oh, I
Mm.
remember mom scooping up green beans with this. And then I was like, oh, she touched this. And then all of a sudden, the grief comes 4 years later and it's a moment. So you do have those real grieving moments, yes, but you don't have to live there.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that disconnect can sometimes come, is we choose to live there because that's what's the most real to us. Grief is more real than hope, and we need to flip it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I feel like so many people are afraid to hope because they're afraid to be let down or something because they've been so like just, putting hope in things like you said, holding the things of this world so close because anytime we
Yeah,
put anything, you can hope in some people and things like that, but if you hold it too close and expect it to be your joy,
right.
it will let you down,
It
so I
will let
feel
you
like
down. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
It
for
also
sure.
feels a little bit like a betrayal, like you're
Mhm.
supposed to grieve and not be
Yeah.
happy, and like, you look at the Victorian eras, and we haven't even started talking about the book yet, but like the traditions around somebody dying and the things that you're supposed to do, to honor someone's passing. And I think to go into that with joy is an
Yeah.
oxymoron
Mhm.
for us. We're like, what? That's no, I need to be sad. I'm supposed to be sad. Um, but I'm not sure that's how God intended it.
No, I don't think so. I think that it's because joy is different than happiness in the moment, right? Like
Absolutely. Yeah.
just is. It's not necessarily a feeling, it's more of a
Hmm.
state, I think, like a
Right.
state of mind. So,
Right.
like, you can be grieving, but still have
Have
joy.
joy.
Yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure. Well, with Jesus, for sure. I don't know
Right.
how anyone else does it without him. I just
Yeah.
don't know.
I don't
Because
either.
I couldn't, I didn't do it. And this is why
No.
I need him
Right.
personally.
Right.
But yeah, for sure. So just to get into that Victorian era and
Yeah.
obviously talk about this story. So what are some of those things that they would do um
Right. So let's talk about the dark and hopeless. Okay.
around
So
death? What are the things? So back to the dark and hopeless.
back
No.
to the dark and macabre. Well, it's interesting. So I was researching for this book, wakes, like WAKE, like
Yeah.
the wake. And the fact that, like today, you have a wake and you're typically in a funeral parlor, and all these terms that are that we use, but I don't think we really think about where do they come from, right? So like a wake was literally roughly a 72-hour-ish, depending on the person and the family, period of time where someone would sit by the corpse
Mm.
24/7. They take shifts for the intention of making sure they were dead.
Wow.
Because back in the day, you couldn't hook them up to machines and say, is there brain waves? Is there a pulse? And that's why, like, even pre-Victorian days, you hear stories of how people were, I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that hears about these things because I read it, but they were like buried with a string tied around their toe that would go up through the ground to a bell above their grave, because sometimes you'd be walking through the graveyard and you'd hear a bell ringing, and then they would call the grave person, whoever the person was tending the graves, and they'd dig them up because they were alive.
Wow. So
So
what were
some people
they,
can
just
go
like
in,
in a
and you as a
coma?
nurse, you probably know this. I don't know the science behind it, but people can go into such deep coma that unless you have something like a medical machine to really look at their vitals, you're going for a pulse, like you're trying to feel a pulse. If they didn't feel a pulse, then you're dead.
Yeah, especially too, because even in the hospital, they don't check any other pulses other than the carotids, like in your neck,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So
Yep.
because you cannot have a pulse in like your limbs
Right.
or like a really weak
All
pulse,
right.
but you could still have a pulse in your because
But did
if
a
you
country doctor in 1863 know that?
yeah, exactly.
Right?
What are they gonna
Right. And so
do?
all this stuff, I mean, so people would get buried and they would be in a super deep coma, and they would wake up
Wow.
buried alive, and they would wiggle their big toe and the bell would ring.
They'd wiggle their big
So
toe.
that's one of the reasons why they did wakes, because they figured if they're really dead, they're going to stay that way.
I love that I know this now.
I
I
know. And
so
see all the
appreciate
things you
you.
didn't realize you needed to know.
No, I needed
Yes.
to know that.
Yes. And the
I
reason
love
it's
that I
called a
know that.
funeral parlor, like you go to the funeral parlor for the wake, unless they're holding the wakes in churches more often. But our wakes now last for about an hour and a half.
Right. And everybody's eating. Nobody's
And we don't get strings tied to our toes either. I'm telling you. So I hope I'm dead. But when a funeral parlor was called a funeral parlor, because when they would do the wakes, they would lay the person out more often than not in the parlor of the house they died in.
Mm.
So it became the funeral parlor. So your
Ah.
front parlor was the funeral parlor. And then they would build these tables that they would lay the body on, and underneath they would put blocks of ice. And then they would hide it by shrouds.
Ah.
So it would keep the body cold and try to avoid the decay, because they only had like certain things for embalming, which arsenic was a big one.
Wow.
All the things I shouldn't know, but I do.
No, that's neat. It's very neat to know that. Very interesting. I love it. I love it. I love it. So wait, so is this related to the story?
Yes.
The bell tolls at Traeger Hall. Is
At
this
Traeger
like the
Hall.
toe bell?
Well, I didn't put a toe bell in. I'm
Okay.
going to put that in another book. This one didn't get a toe bell. What this one got was Leopold Traeger, who owns Traeger Hall, is murdered pretty well in chapter 1, so I'm not spoiling anything. And his will stated that his wake was to last no less than 7 days. So he was pushing the envelope on bodily decay. And but he wanted to make sure, very sure, very, very sure that he was dead. And so that responsibility falls to Waverly, who is his ward. And she suddenly found herself alone in Traeger Hall with the dead corpse of her uncle and aunt, who had both just been murdered. And she now has to live with them for 7 days.
Oh my goodness. Are they on ice at least? I'm just thinking of the smell.
They're on ice. They bring in lots of flowers.
Oh, okay, okay.
They bring in lots of flowers. And the undertaker, who's actually the romantic interest in this, undertakers are always skinny and weird and have hooked noses in books. So I thought, let's redeem the undertaker. And so he comes in and he kind of coaches her through what to do with the body and how to keep things from being too ripe.
I love that you said ripe.
Well, just put it there.
7 days. He's very eccentric.
Oh, he was very eccentric. Leopold Traeger is very eccentric. And that's one of the reasons, that's pretty much the entire premise of the novel, because not only does his will state that he must be watched over 24/7 for a period of 7 days, at which point, if he has not awakened, they can then pronounce him dead. And he will be interred in their family grave. And on his internment, Traeger Hall is to then be shut and locked and not to be opened again.
Wow.
And his will is so eccentric. He even states, unless this, and this happens, the house is not supposed to be opened for 100 years. He's like, it's not going to get opened. It's locked. Everything in it stays. My ward goes, Waverly, you're kicked out. She has to take her cat Foo, who is a character. And so she spends this period of 7 days in this book. It's really about 7 day span, trying to figure out what on earth she's going to do, who on earth killed her uncle, why it seems like somebody else might still be in the house when they're supposed to be dead. And also she has this interesting undertaker, Titus, who has a very deadpan sense of humor, pun intended. So
he has a deadpan sense of humor, but he's nice and he's helping her.
He is.
And he's
nice.
Sweet and he's cute. He's not skinny and has a weird nose.
No, he's not skinny. He's actually very handsome. The last sentence, this will give you a hint to his personality. The last paragraph in book 1 is, he goes, he jabbed the trocar into the abdominal cavity once again. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Jab into the dead body.
I pictured it.
Right, I know. Intent on releasing the embalming fluid that contained a mixture of arsenic and herbs. And then he says, if this hasn't killed him and he awakens in 4 days, I will resign from my position as undertaker.
I love it.
And then he goes, this room is going to be quite ripe by the end of 7 days, at which point then, Waverly added, we shall rest. And his oceanic blue eyes. See, I tried to get a little Pepper Basham in there and get really romantic.
Oh, yeah, that's
his
Pepper.
Oceanic blue eyes locked onto hers. Miss Pembroke, only God rests on the 7th day. We, on the other hand, shall be busy burying the dead.
Oh, my gosh. I love him.
He was so much fun to write because he's like really
funny.
A romantic at heart, but he doesn't know what to do with it. Like,
yeah.
He has no clue. So anything he tries to say that's comforting comes across as doom.
Yeah. Awkward like.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it though. I love it.
So it's fun. And he's also one of those like alpha male handsomes with the awkwardness of a nerd. He was
so great.
He might be my favorite character.
He's so great. I love him. What's his name? Titus.
Titus Fitzgerald.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. I love him. So fast forward. So Waverly's dealing with this in like 1890, right?
Yep.
Having to deal with her ripe aunt and uncle and all the craziness. And then so fast forward, what is Jenny dealing with?
So Jenny has issues of her own. She was not raised in a happy household. Her father was very abusive and it was never exposed. Her father has now died. He was very
Mm.
wealthy. He bought properties up from all over the place. He liked history and old places. And so he had bought Traeger Hall. And she's essentially come to Traeger Hall to figure out what to do with it. And what she finds out from the local lawyer, which she's like, didn't even know this lawyer existed or had anything to do with her father. But he had actually, there's a legal term for it. I can't remember what it's called. I use it in the book, but would I remember it? No. But he actually did this legalese thing that basically reinstated Leopold Traeger's will terms.
Hmm.
So when she comes to get rid of Traeger Hall, she's given three options. She can demolish the building, she can unlock the building, or she can just leave it the way it is and untouched. And the way her father's will is written, those are her three options. But if
Mm.
she doesn't do it, then it has to stay exactly as it's been. So it's been locked up since 1890. So if she decides to walk away from it, thus it remains.
Yeah.
But by this time, there's so much lore around it. People think, oh, it was locked up because it's still filled with dead bodies, murder victims. Oh, it was locked up because it's filled with treasure. Oh, it was locked. I mean, there's all this mystery about it. And so she goes to visit the house and figure out, like, what am I going to do with this thing? And the house is really a parallel to who Jenny is. It's like
Mm.
this locked up version with lots of horror, awful things inside. And the minute you open it, you're afraid of what you're going to find.
Oh.
And that's how she feels she is. And so she kind of connects to Traeger Hall in a bit of a nerve-wracking way. And then, of course, while she's there, she discovers some human remains that are not old. They are more current.
Oh my
And they
goodness.
are immediately identified and found out that it's the girlfriend of her current love interest who had disappeared like 8 years before and vanished. And so now there's a
Ah.
present day mystery at Traeger Hall with Traeger Hall. And they're starting to uncover all these old things. And the bell tower is known. If you hear the bell toll, someone is going to die. And
Oh my
the bell's
gosh.
going to toll.
Oh my gosh.
It's a better summary if you just read the back of the book.
Listen, that was the best summary. Ending, see, I don't even want to ask you anything else now because ending on when the bell tolls, somebody's going to die.
Yes.
I feel like that just needs to hang in the air a little bit.
You want me to leave you hanging with one more thing?
Yes.
That was actually based on a real story.
Stop it.
Nope.
There's like real
There is
based
a
on true
man, his
events.
name is, this was inspired by a real unsolved murder that happened in the 19th century in Cheshire, England, to a man named George Harry Stores. He lived in a place called Gorse Hall. And there's a whole other, there's all kinds of his own story elements that I didn't necessarily put in this one. But the gist of it was he was convinced someone was going to kill him. And he told the local authorities, someone's going to murder me. And then one night, somebody shot at him while he and his wife and their ward, their niece, were sitting at dinner. And he chased after the guy, couldn't find him, but it almost killed him. He told the police, I told you, I'm going to get murdered. So he installed a bell on the top of his house and said, if you hear the bell ring, you come because I'm being murdered. And sure enough, about a week or two later, the bell started ringing. They ran to the house and he had been stabbed over 15 times.
Oh my gosh.
And they had 2 or 3 different suspects over the course of the next year based on different theories. None of them stuck. All of them were acquitted. And to this day, no one knows exactly who killed George Harry Stores, but the bell did toll.
That is so interesting.
I know.
It's just
I
so
love it.
cool.
I know. I know. Yeah, I listened to that story. I heard that story and then I looked it up. I mean, you can look up Gorse Hall. It still exists in England. You can go visit it. I did not, but it was so like intriguing. I'm like, I've got to take at least the framework
Yeah.
and make a story off of that. So I would say it's inspired by, it's not a retelling. I have tons of fictional liberty and I completely changed all the names, but they're little bits and pieces.
Well, yeah. I mean, even that part though, because there's, like you said, bits and pieces inspired by true
Yeah.
events.
Mm-hmm.
But the bits and pieces are very
Yeah.
intriguing.
Yeah.
That part, the bits and pieces are like the bell tolling when somebody dies.
I know. Can you imagine? Like, I'm going to
It's
just put a bell.
crazy.
I guess back then that was their alarm system.
Yeah.
Essentially was put a bell. And what was different, like my story, and again, it's not a spoiler because in chapter 1 that both Leopold and his wife die. But in the real story, the wife was actually the one who made it to the bell tower and rang the bell, and she actually survived. And I'm still suspicious. I don't know how a guy breaks into your house, attacks you, attacks your husband. You have time to ring a bell, and you still don't know who it was.
Yeah. How did you not get a look?
Come on, woman.
Yeah, because if she's stabbed in the back at all, anywhere, to make her stop, she's stabbed in the leg.
She's not. Conversation with him.
Yeah. Oh, she has a conversation.
She pulled like a sword thingy off their wall. They have a special name for it. I don't know what it was. Some sort of sword thingy, and he says, "Don't wield that against me, and I won't shoot you."
Ah.
And so they have this conversation about who's gonna like kill the other one first. I'm like, I thought there's so many loose ends in that story. I don't know. But
holes.
Anyway, there's holes. There's not holes in this. I hope. If there are holes, that's just bad writing.
There's no holes in your story. So this is the Bell Tolls at Traeger Hall. I absolutely love it. It sounds amazing. I love Titus. And I was going to ask you, because I know you're not real, like, your romance is like how you say hint of romance. So I was going to say, like, what about the kind of love that we find in the story? But you already kind of mentioned that, like how Titus is helping Waverly.
Titus and Waverly have, I would say, probably more than any of my other books, they have more of that tempestuous throwing jabs at each other back and forth.
Oh, I love
a little
that.
bit, which is kind of fun. And some more of their romance is just kind of that heated tension with desperate attraction. Because who isn't desperately attracted to an undertaker? Me. Okay. And then in the modern day, you have Jenny, who meets Zane, who is the ex of the woman who had been murdered. And he has their little boy. They hadn't been married, but they'd had a son. And Milo's neurodivergent too. He's a nonverbal child with autism. And so he plays a really important role in the book as well. And so I would say next to Titus, Milo's probably my favorite. But Zane and Jenny's romance is more of a need to support each other romance, not so much of I did enough romance with Titus and Waverly, and by the time I got to Zane and Jenny, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is too much.
Too much. We can't have too much tension, okay?
You can have more corpses, but too many lovey-dovey things, and they cross over into romance. It's, ooh, what's that?
You are so funny. I know. You walk the line where it's like, no, we can't get too mushy.
I do. I try.
You're so funny. But it does sound so amazing, especially, I mean, both the romances, really, because if they have, like you said, the need to support each other, if they have like a sense of duty, and then they're going through this thing together, not to mention, you don't have to spoil anything, but I'm already catching a little bit of a vibe that because it was his ex-girlfriend, she's going to really question if he had something to do with it, because it's a little weird. It's a little weird, especially if they have a child. Ugh, so intense. Anyway, I love Titus. His humor's hilarious.
Everybody likes Titus before they've even met Titus. But
yes. I love him.
Yeah. So, yeah. I feel like I need to just make a quote book of Titus quotes.
You should. Yeah. You should. Do it with the trope. Do it with the trope. Like it's coming from him. The book
there
tropes.
You go.
Death, 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 death. And then just do a bunch of jokes in the post from Titus.
Yeah, I think that would work.
You crack me up. I love it.
Oh, man.
I love it. Was there any characters that surprised you while you were writing them? Like they changed a little bit?
That's a good question. there wasn't any characters that changed. There was a character that surprised me because they entered the story about 3/4 of the way through, and I went, "Oh, that's what happened." And I was like, "Oh, that really helps. Now that I know you exist, we can make some of this work."
Oh,
Um, so that it was a surprise character because I had not planned on them.
I love when
And then
that
they got written
happens.
into the book, and it made the book like way cooler.
I love that. I love whenever that happens.
Yeah,
Whenever it's
it's
like you're
fun.
just kind of flowing. Was it like
Mhm.
that? Like you're just
Mhm.
in flow state, and then here comes this character to seal up or to
Right.
add a little bit of extra intrigue.
Exactly.
Ah,
Exactly.
that's so
Yeah.
fun. Oh, I
But
can't wait to find out who it is.
yes, yes, yes.
We're not
Yes,
going to
yes.
say. We're not going to
I
say.
can't. It's so hard to talk about these types of books because like anything you say is a giveaway of something else.
Yeah, but
Um
you're doing a great job. I love to hear like the intrigue behind the things. I think you do great talking about that because it would be difficult because you
it,
have like mystery elements. You don't want to give away the things, you know. You
yeah.
don't want to give
Yeah,
away
you don't.
clues.
You don't. I think a lot of times you just have to talk about the characters and
Mhm.
hope that they they're interesting enough for people to want to read the book.
Oh, I'm sure. They sound very interesting. I mean, Leopold alone starting out even this sounds very interesting.
Yeah,
And Fu is in it.
and Fu finally makes his debut.
Oh.
And his personality, everything that you read about Fu in the book is very true and very accurate to who Fu is. In fact, he's trying to steal the limelight over this book release. Even on my social media, he keeps stealing my phone and posting pictures of himself. So knock
He
it
is
off.
so cute. He is so
Yeah, he
cute.
knows it too. He knows it,
Oh, he
don't you?
does. He knows we're talking about him right now. I'm
Yes,
gonna post a clip
hello.
with him.
Hello.
He's the best. Well, we are almost at time. So I was
Hmm.
curious. So because of the like darker elements and how we
Hmm.
talked before about, right? So immediately went into the like the dark spaces. But you do have light and you have hope
Yeah,
and you have
I
people
do.
like very real characters going through very like real things and difficult things
Yes.
internally. So is there any like certain verse that maybe encouraged you with this story or even just your life verse that kind of encourages you writing all these stories, especially when you're dealing with death and trying to, encourage other, Christian readers through that?
Yeah, yeah. The verse that really kind of pops out for me on this one is, and it's what I try and put with all of my books, is that element of hope. And I like Psalm 33. I'm looking at my phone down here. Everybody's like, why is she suddenly not looking at the camera? But it's Psalm 33:18, which is, "Behold, the eye of the Lord is on those who fear him and
Hmm.
on those who hope in his steadfast love." And I love that because it kind of speaks to the concept of um, you're fearing God, and not fearing God as an, oh my gosh, horror, God is horror. No, not that. It's more like an awe and respect, right? You have a deep respect. Like, I'm not going to overstep because you are God, and I have a deep respect for your authority and who you are. Um, but then it goes on to say, on those who hope in his steadfast love. So there's that addition of, I have awe and respect and fear of you, but I also hope in your steadfast love. And it says at the beginning, then, if you go backwards, the eye of the Lord is on those who do that and believe that. And what I love about that is it shows us that hope is often looking for something that you don't necessarily feel or see at the moment, right? And so you go through those dark, macabre times, and people start giving you the cliches of like, just remember Jesus loves you. And you're like, yay, because I so feel it right now, you know? But the concept is hope in that, believe that promise, trust in him, trust in the hope of his steadfast love, have that fear and awe of him because he's promised that his eye is on you if you do live in such a way. And so I try and put that in the book and infuse that in the book, especially in Jenny's life. You really see it come to
Hmm.
fruition because she is this walled up, locked up house herself. And everything that is flayed out and laid bare at the end of the book, she really just kind of gets to a point of, am I going to open the door? It's not necessarily a resolution of trauma. It's, can you just open the door? Is it possible to break down the vault? And that's the big question. And so is that hope real enough? And so, long answer, that's the verse. Psalm 33:18. Go read it. ESV, my favorite.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's so well put. I think, especially in using Jenny as the example of how she's walled up like that, I feel like, and there's not always a quick resolution. It's usually working through a lot of things every day. And it takes a lot of time, right? It's sanctifying us daily, right? Daily bread, daily surrender. And sometimes it's like you said, just opening the door. It's not opening the door and sorting everything out. It's just opening it.
And that's one thing with my fiction. If people are going to read it for a happily ever after, you'll get that from the standpoint of, you'll close the book and go, okay, there's hope. But most of my characters' troubles don't always resolve. They're not neatly tied up, because life's not like that, right? I mean, if I have a character who's suffered multiple abuses through her childhood, at the end of the book, she's not going to go, oh, I'm free, right? She's going to be struggling with that probably until the day she dies. So it's just that concept of, how do you get from point A to point A and a half,
absolutely,
in life?
Yeah, absolutely. Jesus.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
You also didn't know there was an A and a half, did you?
I did not know that. Okay. And I appreciate it.
I'm glad I could help educate you.
You enlighten me. I love talking to you. You have to always come back. I don't care if there's even like this tiny little bit of romance. You have to come back anyway and talk about it.
She's like, squeeze a drip out, Jamie, so you at least like fit under the Christian romance. Like, I know. And then the next episode that you have is going to be like Pepper Basham on here, oohing and gooing and.
No, I haven't talked to Pepper. I got to reach out to her because she's so fun.
You have to talk to Pepper.
Yes.
You have to have Pepper and I both on at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
That will lead you on a wild trip you will never come back from.
I love it. I would love it, especially if you're talking about the little non-mushy romance, the little hint, and then she's talking about a story of hers. Oh my gosh,
we used to do a podcast together called Smooches and Stabs, and so that says everything right there. Everything with her is rose-colored glasses. I mean, it's nauseating. I'm like, stop it.
I know. I'm so much like her too, though. But you intrigue me, and these stories are so intriguing. I mean, really, they're so good. I love it. I just love it. Well, where's the best place that our listeners can connect with you and also get a copy of The Bell Tolls at Traeger Hall?
Yeah, so your favorite book place should have it. Barnes & Noble. Obviously, Amazon owns everything, so they have everything. And you can even order it from Walmart.com. bakerbookhouse.com. If you have a brick and mortar store, I say go there and just make yourself wait for them to order it. I know it's not Amazon Prime, but if you make yourself wait, you do two things. You support your local bookstore and small town business, and then you also let them know that there's actually a demand for that book, and they might stock more of my books and any other authors. So if you can stand to wait for a while for them to order a book, if they don't have it, still ask them to do that. Most of them will. As far as following me, if you even want to, you can go to jamiewrightbooks.com. All my social media, everything's there. Sign up for my newsletter. It's probably as terrifying as this interview was, and it's that.
That's that.
I mean, I don't know what else to tell you.
You are so funny. Stop it. This was not terrifying. You are not terrifying. You
should interview my kids. They'll tell you all about their mom.
They love you.
They do.
They love you so much. This was wonderful. I love talking with you. You are hilarious, but also you just have this wonderful calling. And I am so grateful to you for listening to it, because you just touch hearts and you put hope in darkness. You put hope in those times that people are dealing with a lot of dark. And I think that your books are so helpful, because it's okay. And then on the other side of it, sometimes people are afraid to talk about it, even if they do follow Jesus, even if they do believe in him, they're afraid to say, like, hey, I felt like really dark today and I had some really dark thoughts and I don't know what to do with it, because like you said, they don't want to hear, oh, Jesus make everything better and this and that. It's true.
Right.
But in certain times, there's also a sense of like mercy and just understanding and validating and stuff. And I feel like that's what your stories do for for people dealing with rough things like that. And they're fun and they're interesting.
And they're weird.
Weird.
I'm weird.
But a good weird.
But it's a fun weird. And weird. And I guess in all seriousness, I think as readers, you need permission to walk through the darkness. It's okay to be there. It's okay to be in the darkness. Not seek it out. I don't mean that. But I mean, like, if you're in a dark spot, I think half the reason we make it so miserable is because we fight it so hard. Like, we're guilty for some reason. And, just ask the Lord, why are you here? And I love reading the Psalms and how there's ranting and raving, and finger pointing and, they get put in their place. That's for sure. But we need to, and God's there. He's there for every side of our life, not just the pretty roses ones.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for what you do. I am rooting for you for these Christy Awards. I think by the time this comes out, we will know.
We'll know. Yeah.
We may know. So
at this point in the podcast, you can start the tears falling down my face.
The tears. Stop it. You are so ridiculous. Oh, you're the best. Thank you so much for being here, Jamie. I love chatting with you.
Oh, this is a blast. Thanks for having me, Kelly.
What a joy to share today's episode with you. I hope it encouraged your heart and inspired your love for stories that reflect God's grace and goodness. If you enjoyed our conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. And because we're so grateful you're part of this community, we love to bless you with lots of books. Enter our latest giveaway by visiting ChristianRomancePodcast.com. That's ChristianRomancePodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening. And until next time, keep your faith, share the love, and happy reading.